Hello world, welcome back to the stream. How's everyone doing tonight? Let's jump right into the code. If you remember last time, we had started work on our config file parsing routine, or set of functions that we'll use to parse our various config files. Hey LZLZ, how's it going tonight? Alright, so thus far we've started work on our config file parse. I'm doing well, thanks for asking. So we started work on config file parse, and so let's, I've kind of stubbed out some to-dos here that we will finish up. And then I've started to step out some other routines that we'll hopefully get to. So one thing that I realized that yes, we are making a classic ASCII roguelike. In case you're wondering, if you're new to the stream, welcome. One thing that I realized that would really be helpful is to actually start working on the config file itself, so we kind of know what it is that we're parsing. So this one is going to be, let's call it monsters. And you remember up top we kind of commented out the config file format. It's going to be very simple. It's going to be the entity name contained in square brackets, and then some number of key equal value pairs. So it's really just a mostly flat file. It's got one level of nesting, so you've got entities and then properties or key value pairs underneath those. And let's just save this. We're going to call it monsters dot, let's call it CFG for config. And so our name is monsters, so our entity is actually going to be, hey Gun Games, it's been a long time, how's it going, man? Yeah, I'm trying to get back into, I took a break over the holiday, and it was kind of, the streams were few and far between before that. So I'm trying to get into more of a regular schedule, at least do a couple of weeknights, and maybe every, once or twice on the weekends as time allows. So for our monsters, we're going to need we'll kind of add to this as we go along. Right now we don't have very many components. So we're not going to need, we're not going to give starting positions or anything like that, so we won't need any position information. So we will need, I guess, physical properties, in terms of blocking movement and sight. Although, really, to put that on every single monster, maybe that's a little, maybe that's overdoing a bit. Maybe we can just assume that all monsters block movement and sight. And then if we want to go crazy later on and have like an invisible monster or something that doesn't block sight, then we can change that. But one thing we do need is this stuff, the speed, the movement properties. So we'll need a speed, we'll need how often it moves, and then I guess that's really it at this point. When we add the health component, we have the enum for it, but we haven't defined what our health component's going to look like. When we do, that information will go in the monster config as well. Ulvif, thanks for the follow. I appreciate it. I hope I pronounced your name right. Let's see. So, I guess each of our monsters, they're going to have a... I want them to have like a monster ID as well. So, you can give it a monster ID, and we'll just have like -1, and then we can have, so we need some movement properties, so we need speed and frequency. Speed, and then frequency. And maybe we'll prefix this with movement speed and then movement frequency, because we may have properties that are similar for other components. And we probably want, we need information about the visual. We need visibility. So we need to know what glyph we're going to use, and then foreground and background colors for, well, I guess really just color. Glyph and color. So we'll do glyph, and then probably also are going to need a name. We're calling this beastie. So for entity, the entity type is just going to be monster, and then we'll have repeated. So let's convert our 3 hard-coded monsters into config monsters that we config. So we've got, we'll just do ID1, ID2, ID3, and then the names, we're going to have, let's do a goblin, and then what do we have? A serpent, and then I think we have a K, so we could do kobold. And so the glyph is going to be G, S, and K. And then we can do our colors right now when we define them. Let's just pull. Where are we hard coding? There we are. So our goblin is going to be this color. And then this is our serpent. And our kobold. And we're just going to have speed 1, frequency 1 for all these guys, because they're going to move every turn that the player moves, and they're just going to move 1 square each time. And to make this better and readable, we're going to have some spaces in here. So we're going to allow for white space, or a blank line. Okay, so this is our, this is one of the config files we're going to have. We've got entity names. In this case, this file is just going to contain a bunch of monster entities. And then it's got key value pairs separated by an equal sign. So in our config parsing routine. We're going to open the file that we're given. And we may want to put this in a subfolder. But again, we can deal with that a bit later. We're opening the file, and then we're going to loop through each line of the file. We're going to test and see if the first character is an open square bracket, then we know that we're at a new entity. So we're going to grab the name, which basically we call string token twice to grab everything in between the brackets. And now we're going to create a new entity structure. So here's what our first to do. I've defined this up here. So we're going to do a config entity. Entity. We'll do so we'll allocate a new entity, and we're going to add it to our config. Do we want to add it yet, or do we want to hold on to it? Let's think about this for a sec. We set up our config. Let's do config entity. Set up a pointer here. Before we save that pointer, we are going to add it to our config. So it's config. Oh, we're going to want to do a list. Insert actor. Yep, it takes list element and data. So it's going to be our list is going to be config entities. So that's our, define that up here. I'm just realizing we haven't actually allocated that yet, so we'll need to do that. Using malloc, yes, I know. I've kind of drawn the line at re-implementing the standard library. I'm not going to bite that off in this project. But I've seen several people do it, and I'm just not. How's your coding going there, Gun Games? How's your game coming along? So we're going to insert this entity into our list. And when we're setting up our config, so when we malloc the config, we are only allocating enough memory for the pointer to this list. So what we need to do is we need to say config entities is equal to our list new. And we're just going to do, it's just going to be dynamically allocated with malloc, so we're going to free it with free. And list new Well, it just initializes a new list, sets it all up, and then returns a point to that list, which is what we want. That's cool. Learning more in learning mode than implementation mode. That's cool too. Sometimes the project is more about the learning than the result. Let's go. So we create a new entity structure and we point to it. We mark it as our current entity. So now we're going to need our previously, I wasn't planning on having blank lines. I was just assuming that anything that didn't start with this is going to be a key value pair. So we also need to account for the fact that there could be a blank line. Sure. Fgets. Does that clear the buffer? I'll have to look that up. So I guess we're gonna need to see if something else. So would it be new line, maybe? But also we could also have a space by accident, so we'll do it. If it starts with a new line, test against so if we have a blank line, we're just going to ignore it. How's everyone doing tonight? Alright, so the last case is if we have key value data. So we're going to parse it into our various parts. So we're going to use string toke again. We need to look up string toke again. Handy dandy C pocket reference. String toke. So string toke breaks the string into the substrings. Well, that's not very descriptive. I need more than the one-line summary. So let's look it up.
All my life I've been pushed around, always lost, not found, but I didn't realize. Like a shine standing in my way, leading me astray. Now it's time for me to rise. I knew I had to find myself. Turns out I'm on my own.
Breaks the string you give it into a series of tokens. So does it just return the first one? Last token found in the string. Okay. So it'll return them sequentially. Alright. So I'll do charm. Or let's say key. And that will equal str. I'm just wondering if buffer is not, it's not null terminated, we're in trouble. Okay.
My time is close to coming.
Equals is our token that we're, or our delimiter.
Follow me into the skies, hold our breath till we die. I just wish it was for something.
String token is taking, I just need string, it's taking a character vector, char star. So it's expecting a string. So I need to make sure that that's something that it's null terminated. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take buffer and I'm gonna overwrite the last character in the buffer with a null character, which is 0. Which is what? It's yeah, \0. Alright, so the first thing is going to give us our key. And then, how do I get the next bit? Walk through, so it's while token. Oh, you just keep calling it. Okay. So I'm just calling it again. And then we'll do char value. So, well, it would null to use the same buffer. Just call it the same. But so this should give us our key value pair. So let's test if key
Even when the music is loud, I'd rather be no other place than here with you now. Here with you now.
So in this case, we're going to add a config key value pair. And we'll set our key to key and our value. And then what we want to do is we want to add that to our current entity. So, and again, I did not allocate my list. I also didn't assign the name of the entity. And also, I probably want to do... Oh, yeah, that I should store the entity. So, doing this, create a new entity structure. Entity name is going to be equal to I should probably copy it. I probably need to do a copy because I'm going to lose this memory. Right? I think because the entity name, I'm reading it from this buffer. When I overwrite the buffer with the next get, this memory is going to be trashed because it's just a pointer. I think I can do. So to do is allocate a temporary string. Let's do some copy pasta because I don't know. So I'm in this case our string is entity name, and then we're going to copy entity into I believe. So we will now own this memory. And then we're going to need to do a similar thing down with our key value pairs. Oops. Oops. Let's do key copy. So we're going to make a copy of the key. It's +1 because I need room for the null. And then copy value. So we've got our key value pair, and now we need to add it to the entity. And I'm going to bubble this down because so we've got our key value pair, so now we need to do current entity, what do we call the property? Key value pairs. So it's list, insert, after our list is the key value pairs, we'll just push it on the head so it doesn't, and then the value is our KB. That's the data we're pushing. But we need to go back to this current entity. So the name, we're storing the name. We also need to set up entity value pairs equals list new. Alright, and now we've allocated our list. So that is our parsing, our line by line parsing. I'm just gonna, so if it's not a new line and it's not a space, I'm gonna assume that's where we're assuming this. So I'm gonna bubble this up. And then move this down. Because having a case where we're just ignoring, I just put it at the bottom just to, because it feels right. Okay. So I need to determine if fgets clears the buffer or not. So let's check that out. It reads, hey LZ, how's it going? it reads a line from the stream and stores it in the string, and then it stops. It feels like we may need to zero out our buffer. I don't think this is a decent site, but I don't like all the ads. Wow, that's their example. They read one line of... That's not exciting. Flushing buffer gets, let's see. That's what I'm looking for. I guess we can see garbage. I'll leave that to do in there. We can just see what's what. Okay, so the next function that we want to write is given our so this parsing routine returns a config structure. So what we want to do is then we want a function that takes a config structure such as that's been hydrated by parse, and we'll give it an entity name. So in the case of our monsters, we're going to have a lot with the same name, so that doesn't necessarily work. How are we gonna... Let's write the code that is going to use this stuff, and then we can figure out what we need. So this is our in-game, it's our level init. This is where we're going to want to do we have a game in it? We don't want to initialize our monsters every time we do a level in it. We want world state in it. There, that would be a good place to do it. When do we call this? Perfect. We call it once right before we start creating all our game objects. That seems like a good place to do that. Config files. So our first one's going to be monsters. So we'll do config. Parse. big file parser that takes a file name. For now, we're just going to hardcode the file name. We called it monsters. Monsters.cfg. And it's in the same directory as our executable right now, so we don't need to specify any path information. So that's where we want to call it. Let's do should be enough to test. So let's, before we get too far down the road, let's test and make sure we can build. It's giving us a warning about our config get entity that isn't actually being used right now, so maybe we'll just comment that out for the moment. Okay, well, compiled. I guess we can give it a go. And crash. Okay. I'm not entirely unsurprised. We're going to debug this. So actually I'd like to attach and step through it. Kind of verify everything's working the way we expect it to. So let me throw up Studio. And it's complaining. It crashed here in my copy. Oh, entity name is null. So this string toke didn't work. Well, that's curious. Full stack. Stupid thing. Alt 7, I need to remember. Alright, so we got into our world state init, we called it with monsters.cfg, and then, so we got into our loop, so that means that our file is opened, and grab a config. Let's look at this guy. Can I just add this guy as a watch? Yeah. Quick watch maybe? What's that do? Let's just see what we got here. Entities. Size 0 because we haven't had, we're still trying to add our first entities, but it looks like this is a valid okay, we've got null head. Okay, so it did, so that guy's fine. Let's look at our buffer. Big watch. Shift F9. So it read our first line. It's monster in the square brackets with the end of line character. So what the heck? read to the first. There was nothing before. I wonder if it's because there was. So entity name should be pointing to. Let's see why string toke would turn up. It says it will return if there are no tokens left to retrieve. I don't suppose I could do this, could I? Say. Can't say start executing here. So this should have grabbed. I thought that string token was destructive. I thought it would mark the tokens or the dilemmas already found with a. Hey Spirit, how's it going? I thought it actually nulled them out. It was destructive to the buffer. I don't see any destruction. Anyone have familiarity with string toke? I guess we could try changing. Try experimenting with it a little bit. It's curious that this doesn't appear to have altered the buffer at all. So let's stop this. Oh, you're never going to find a solution, Windows. Okay. Let's hide the terminal so you guys can see the code, and let's figure this out. So it's bombing right here because entity name is null, and it's trying to do string length of null, and that's not a smart thing to do. The computer doesn't like that. So let's see. Just look real quick. String toke. Looks like we're doing everything okay. This says string token alters the original string, which was my opinion, which was my assumption as well. It basically replaces, it ends up replacing all of your delimiters with null, the null character. And that's kind of how it saves its spot. So for this, let's just, entity name is putting in the buffer. We're looking for that. And then we turn around and grab, we assign entity named everything basically between the open bracket and the closed bracket. You know what, I'm gonna temporarily move this, I'm gonna comment it out here. First I'm gonna copy it. I'm gonna comment it out here and put it someplace that I can then, it doesn't happen as part of the game startup, so I can connect the debugger before it executes. So I'm gonna say, let's just put it right here for now. When we press the down arrow, we'll parse our file. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to launch Visual Studio. While that's launching, I'm going to build. Alright, we've built, and then I'm going to run. Okay, so we've launched. Now we're going to attach to it in Visual Studio. Let's hide the game. Why can you not see Visual Studio? You know what? Sometimes OBS is strange like that. So let's do... There we go. Now you can see it. It's funny like that sometimes. Okay, so we're going to open our config.c file, and then I want to put a breakpoint. Let's just put it right here. I want to see the whole stinking process. So now we're going to go back to the game, if I can find it, and hit the down arrow. Okay, so now we've hit our breakpoint. So we're coming in, file name is monsters.cfg, which is what we were expecting. Now we're going to open it. We get our config file is a pointer to a non-null entity, which is good. Continue on down. Now we're going to allocate our config, and we looked last time, that seemed like it was correct. We've allocated our buffer, which right now is empty, which is excellent. And Is that? I wonder if we need to. It should be able to zero out the. We've allocated the. It's a character 256, so the memory should be allocated. It might be garbage, but at least it's allocated. And so now we're gonna start our loop. So we're gonna read in our first line into the buffer. Buffer gets monster, our entity name, and the new line character. And so then we're gonna get to where we're blowing up. So entity name. I want to see buffer. Buffer zeros that. Yep. Okay. Now this is what I want to see. Entity name becomes what? Now why? Well, so our buffer has remained the same, and entity name is this string? That doesn't make any sense at all. Entity name should be like the empty string because there's nothing before that first bracket. What? So now this is going to, if it thinks that it's already past this, it's like it didn't even see it. So now we're gonna get, yeah, it already is like, it considers itself past the end of the buffer, so it's gonna be null. Well, that didn't work at all how I expected it to. Alright, why not? What's going on, string toke? Total emitter, start of line. Let's close this and show this. So let's read about string token. See, you'll see it being modified. I wasn't seeing it modified. So the starting token will be from oh, interesting. You can give it multiple. I didn't realize. I didn't realize that at all. Let's... So, theoretically I could do this. Still probably not going to work, but shouldn't have shut down Visual Studio. Second, please. Run. And then attach. There you guys, and I'll make sure that you can see this. There we go. Okay, so we've got our, let's put our breakpoint here, because we know the stuff before that works. And I'm gonna go to my game and trip it. Okay. So now, I guess it would match on either of those. Oh, what? Well, that is exactly what I want to extract, but I wouldn't have expected that to work like that. And now I'll get null, because if I read again, I'll be done. Oh, I get a... It's like it's ignoring that first... If the line starts with a delimiter, it just like ignores it. But this gives me what I want. So basically what I want to do is this. I just want this. That's what I want, which you can't see because so what I did, I want to reload it, yes. So I removed the second line and I'm just taking this first line that gave us what we wanted because this apparently grabs everything between our delimiters if the line starts with the open bracket. Let me build this and rerun. And we'll step through it again to see what's... Alright, let's see. So let's trip it. Okay, so now our entity name should be what we're expecting. And it's monster, that is correct. So now the rest of this code can be tested. So our malloc should succeed right here, which is where we bombed last time. And it did succeed, and so string copy should get Our copy gets monster. Yep. They have different memory addresses, so it's a different copy. We're storing name into that. And then we're going to create, right now our key value pairs is null, and it becomes a list. That's good. I'm going to insert into that list, and then set current entity. And that's our first loop through. We're going to get the next line. So I want to see what happens with buffer, because right now it's... we get, that looks fine. Monster ID equal 1, so it looks like we don't need to zero out our buffer in between calls. Excellent. So now this... let's test our key value case. So... it looks like our buffer is null terminated, so this is something that's not necessary. But let's... so key becomes monster ID, that looks right. Value becomes 1. 1 new line. So I think what we're going to want to change, instead of equals, our value is going to be, we're going to read until, new line will become our delimiter in that case. I'm going to change the code behind the scenes, and then we'll keep testing, because for now it's fine. Value is going to be our new line character. Okay, let's keep testing. So both values are non-null. We should go in here, allocate a key value. And we're going to copy our key. So copy key becomes monster ID, and copy value becomes 1. Correct. And we're going to insert our into our key value list, pair list. Good. That's our second read. So now we're going to come in here and grab key value is going to be name and goblin. Good. So this looks reasonable. Let me... that seems reasonable. Should we let it fly? See if it crashes? Let's let her fly. Okay, it didn't crash. So I think our parsing is where we want it to be right now. Let's exit out of here. Alright, so the change I just made was, so when we're parsing key value, first thing we're going to look for is we're going to read up until the equal sign, and then the value we're going to read up until the end of line character. So clear the buffer we determined we don't need to do, and I'm going to assume that the blank lines were ignored properly. So let's go back into, get rid of this debug code, and then go back into our game code and uncomment where we actually want it to be parsed. So that should give us our monster configuration. How do we want to test this? Let's just do a quick test. what is the best way to make audio for a rogue game like yours? So this is kind of a classic ASCII roguelike, so there isn't any sound. That said, I think that audio and sound for roguelikes in the modern age is essential. The best way to make audio is that's a good question. The one kind of library that I'm using to build this game is SDL2 specifically, which allows me to do cross-platform, target cross-platform devices, and it basically gives me, for video, it gives me a pixel buffer that I can write into and render into. And I believe it also has a sound library functions that will allow you to provide it with audio files in various formats. Hey, Alexi, thanks for the follow. I appreciate it. If anybody else wants to get notified the next time I go live, please hit that follow button. I appreciate it. So for audio, I'm not an expert, but I don't know that we're going to get into audio for this particular project. I've done audio for other projects. I do iOS development for my day job, and so I've done a lot of audio development there. So if I do an iOS project, we'll definitely get into that. But if you want to check out, look up the docs for SDL2, and you should be able to check out the documentation for the various functions that support audio across PC and Mac and all of that. SDL gives you some nice cross-platform, a cross-platform API. Alright, so we want to just test, we want to do a quick sanity check here and make sure that our monster config is what we're expecting. So let's just grab the first. How do I even want to do this? What are we going to do with it? So world state, we don't currently have, maybe monster config needs to be... So once we have it in our config, we're actually going to want to generate our monsters from it. So we're going to need some global data structure to... Alright, let's do this. So we parse that. Let's have a... I guess it would be a list. Or maybe we just keep it as a config for now. Let's do this. And then to verify that our stuff is working, let's... let's remove this hard coding and actually get we'll generate our monsters right here. And then I think I'll call it a night. Starting to get a little tired. The brain's getting tired, I can feel it. So we'll generate some monsters. So we want, let's do, where's, our list size is how big? It's a U32, so let's do monster count equals list size, and then we're going to give it our monster config. Do we need? We actually don't need this kind of a loop. What am I doing? We'll just loop through all the monsters in our list for now. I think what we're going to do is we're just going to loop through all of our, where did I put it? So it'll be monster config entities, right? I think. We can't type anymore. Yeah. E equals list next. E? Yeah, it takes an element. Okay. So we still want to do this point. We're going to get an open point on the map. NPC add takes what? The glyph, oh, basically everything that we have. That's perfect. Excellent. That's perfect. Okay. So we're still writing the code that we want to use to get at this stuff. So to get key value, we're going to need to get some key value pairs. So the first thing we're going to get is glyph. And we're going to want to let's do config entity value, maybe, and then we'll give it a key for glyph. Oh, but we need to also give it the entity, so and similarly, we're going to grab the color, the speed, and the frequency. So it'll be color, speed, frequency, and we'll do this. Oh, it's viz glyph. So it's going to be viz color, I believe. And then MV speed and MV frequency. MV speed and let's see. And so we're going to need to convert the last three to from character strings to their proper value. So we'll do that. And then we're going to do this NPC add here. So it'll be point X and Y, it'll be layer top, it'll be glyph. Oh, is this a character? What do I think of Vulkan for game development? I have never used Vulkan. I've read a little bit about what other people think of Vulkan, and it seems to be mixed reviews. Some people say it's better than what's out there, and other people say that it's not forward-thinking enough, or not the API that they were hoping for. So, I don't know. I haven't gone too heavy into the direct video coding. So right now I'm using the SDL library, which gives me essentially a pointer to pixel screen memory that I can then software render my screen into, and then say flip, I can do switch the buffer, say render it to the screen. So I haven't haven't done a ton of OpenGL coding or Vulkan coding. Alright, I need to take... Bear with me. I'm going to take a quick 2-minute break and I will be back in 2. Alright, I'm back. Thanks. Okay, let's see. So I need to, I'm going to need to convert these from character strings to, let's just double check MBC add. So it takes an ASCII character and then a couple of U32s. And an ASCII, what did I define that as? Oh, I think I have that in my... console ASCII. It's just a char. Okay. Where are we? So we need an ASCII char equals something, and then we need a couple U32 color equals, and then speed. And then I think we're already using our standard web, so we would do just A to I. Now for the color, we need a little bit. Is A to I going to be? To the hex string is going to be the tricky. STL page multi-touch. Yeah, STL does have support for mobile devices with touch interface, which is another nice thing that it kind of abstracts into an input library for you. I'm going to borrow this handy function that I found on the interwebs. Excuse me. And perhaps start a new file for utility. Utility functions. I want to open, I want a new file. We'll call this utility functions, and found this one that will convert a character string that represents a hex string to an integer, which is exactly what we need. Let's just give it a once over because you never know what you're going to get on the internet, so let's just make sure it looks reasonable. So it looks like if it begins with 0x, we're going to ignore those two, which is perfect. And then while C is less than or greater than F, or So if it doesn't fall in our range of characters, seems reasonable. Character string presenting a X value. Let's see if we can even yeah, let's see. We're including it. We have warnings, but not from that section of code. So let's go back to our, so it's X to I. And then for our glyph, I think we just want this. Grab the first character of that. So, comment this out, because we're now going to be generating our monsters in this loop. And we've got some warnings. So the first one is ASCII card. Oh yeah, it's not a... Alright, so this is game 338. Let's look. 338 right here. Oh. I'm not sending in the right parent. There we go. And then it's complaining... Okay. It's complaining that since now that it doesn't know about point anymore because that's only declared in our loop now. So we'll do this. We're going to declare it, and we'll build. And so now it's complaining 329 char star. Why does it think that oh, we didn't write this yet. So by default, functions in C are assumed to return an int if no other information is provided. So since we haven't even defined this function, it's thinking that it's an int. So this compiler message is not real helpful, but it's bitten me in the past, so now I know what that means. So, alright, let's hide this. So, see the code, and let's go. So we decided that we'd like a function that looks like this. So I have this my to-do function to get a value for a given key in an entity. So that's what we're going to write. And it's going to return a character string. and it's going to take an entity, so a config entity, pointer to one, and it's going to take a character string that is the key, the name of the key. And so we've defined, we have these key value pairs in our entity. So basically we're going to loop through those and try and match on our key, and then return whatever value is associated with that. So it'll be entity, key, value pairs, and we're going to loop while E so we want to do a string comp. So if str comp and we're going to be comparing E, let's see, key and E dot key, right? Yep. Oh, wait a minute. No. Key value, config key value pair. Let's do this, config key value pair. We'll cast it, and this is going to be E of data. And I believe if string compare is 0, we have a match. Let's just double check that. String compare, if it's 0, then they're equal. So if we have a match between the key we're looking for and the key we're looking at, then we want to grab the value. And we can just immediately return value because we're done. We're done with the loop, found what we wanted. So it would be kv value. And if we fall out of the loop and we go through all of our key value pairs and we don't find it, then we're just going to return. And my build says I've got incompatible types on 329. So, oh. Yeah, I'm passing the element, the list element, and what I want to pass in is a config entity. So I need to do e.data. And then I'm going to pass in this. Build. And we have achieved build. Successful build. So I'm going to run it, and if it doesn't explode, which is a distinct possibility, we should see 3 monsters running around our dungeon that represent these 3 guys, our goblin, and represented by a G, our serpent represented by an S, and our kobold represented by a K. So let's spin the dice and execute that. Alright, we didn't explode, so that's good. Oh, and we've got a kobold! What is going on here? Brilliant. And he's moving one turn, once for every turn that we're moving. And let's see if we can find some other beasties. It's a big dungeon and there's only 3 of them, so sometimes we have to look around for a while. Oh, there's our serpent. Excellent. So where is Mr. Goblin hiding? Oh, if they chase me into that room. It's stuck, because we don't have combat yet. Oh, we lost our serpent. That's good. We were able to evade him. We're never going to lose the kobold because he's right there. And there's our goblin. What? Brilliant. Alright. I'm going to declare tonight a success then. He will never catch up. You're right, he will never catch up, but because I don't have combat, I've gotten in several situations where they come at me from either side of a corridor, and I can't move through them. And since I haven't implemented combat yet, I can't attack them to eliminate them, so I'm stuck. And that's when I can usually hit, Oh, I hit my map regen and it crashed. Oh. I'm not going to worry about that right now. So this was a good session. And we can build on this now that we have, now that we're generating monsters from a config file instead of hard coding. We can actually, let's remove this entirely now. So this is cool. Generate some monsters, drop them randomly in the level. Next stream, I think I'm going to make the... well, maybe this is fine for now. Maybe we'll start moving on to combat. Let me look at my list here. Figure out basic data structure for monsters. We did that. The player cannot walk through monsters. They figure out how to make the monsters move somewhat more intelligently. We did that, so they move towards the player. Hard code a monster or 2 and put them in the dungeon. We did that, and then we built a data loader that will load the monster data from a file. That's what we did tonight. So the last step in my monsters kind of checkbox is to enhance the dungeon generator to randomly place the appropriate monsters, which means defining which levels monsters can appear on and how frequently they would appear on certain levels of the dungeon, making the game progressively harder. As you get deeper into the dungeon, you're going to see the bigger, badder monsters, while the initial levels will have the easier to kill monsters. So we'll tackle that in the next stream, which shouldn't take too long. Famous last words. And then we can move on to the next checkbox, which is combat, and that's going to be fun to do. Let's close this up. Excellent. Kappa781, thanks for the follow. I appreciate it. Yeah, so I'm going to wrap it up for tonight. If you guys want to catch me next time I stream, hit that follow button. You'll get some stream notifications the next time I go live. Thanks for watching tonight. If you want to see archives of previous streams, they are on YouTube at the address right there. And if you want to hit me up with questions or comments, I'm at PDCodes on Twitter. And all of the source code for this project is open source, and it's available on GitHub at the repo listed right there. So if you want to follow along at home, or if you want to start using it as a basis for your own project to mess around with, go ahead and grab it, and you can play along at home. Again, be sure to follow me to get those stream notifications. I will try and stream again in maybe not tomorrow night, but tomorrow or Friday evening, and then hopefully once or twice this weekend as I get more onto a regular streaming schedule. So thank you everyone for watching, and I will see you next stream. Good night.